the first and the last step goes hand in hand, right? The last step being citations, and the first step, as we can say, it can be actually it is a second step, but we can consider it as first and second step. So the first step and the last step, it actually goes hand in hand. So this is, I'm sharing this some of the tips from my personal experience that I observed. uh, for my research friends, I trust me, you have to do literature review at it has to be rigorous to the core. For my own research in 2015, which I completed in 2015, I referred more than 250 research papers, and I downloaded it from IIMA library. I referred almost 10 plus at least. I don't remember the exact number, but at least there were 10 plus books, good books. I mean, internationally recognized books on my topic. I referred at least 10 plus books and hundreds of newspaper articles, including Gujarati newspapers. Right, my topic was in the area of rural marketing, especially it was based on the segmentation of rural consumers. And you won't believe, I have rigorously referred number of past literature for my research work, and I would advise you guys to do the same. I still remember, the first day. I think I was the first student of business studies who was awarded junior research fellowship. And as a student, I still remember the day, first day of my research work. I met Raju sir, and Raju sir, asked me to go to the library of business studies department. But there was, I think, no library of business studies department at that point of time. So Raju sir told me to go to the library of GHPIBM. At that time, Raju sir was affiliated with business studies department, and I went there. I went at the library of GHPIBM, and at that in 2011, I started my research in 2011. In 2011, even these e-resources and all those things were still new. So for the initial 6 months, I literally sat down like a small kid in the library and took out, I mean, any journal that came to my hand. I picked up all those journals and searched. Literally, I went through the all the pages of those books and jotted down which were the papers that were coinciding with my research work. And I literally took the photos of all those papers, because photocopying was not allowed at that point of time. So I clicked the photographs, and that is how I started my literature review. Right? Obviously, today you are not not asked to do that thing or not required to do that thing, but that little thing instilled a discipline in me with reference to literature review. And literature review is the primary and secondary of your research, right? So whenever you do the literature review, I would ask you to categorize the literature based upon your either construct or variable. I mean, the same thing, or you can also categorize on the basis of the technique that you are going to use. Based upon that, you can categorize the research papers, right? Say for example, if your variable is personal effectiveness, right? If there are 3-4 variables in your research, right? So all the variables, take all the variables, right, and separately find out the literature on all those variables, right? Also, there must be some particular technique which you are going to use, so also find out the literature on that particular technique which has been used in the past studies. And then you can grade them, right? A plus or A, B, C category, right? A plus being very, very important from the viewpoint of your research. And then sort it chronologically. And trust me, friends, do not keep e-copies of these research papers, right? Or whatever material you have, please take the printouts. Because although it may sound a little bit old school and less environment friendly, but trust me, it will really help, right? Because this actually helps. And I personally have a habit of making the tables of the literature review. I sort my literature review in the form of tables, right, in a tabular format. So that really helps me, right? If you can think that what is the exactly benefit of doing a literature review, right? As Raju sir rightly said, I mean, these three are benefits, right? Clear identification of gaps, that is obviously there, right? Or avoid reinventing the wheel, right? There is no need of reinventing the wheel in today's world. So you can avoid reinventing the wheel by doing a literature review. Carry the flag further. Definitely, you are carrying the flag further. You be the flag bearer. And the most important from my aspect is this: identifying the other people working in the same domain, which is really important, friends. Because as Raju sir said, in research area, building relationships with with people having similar research orientations is really necessary. And this literature review will actually help you to know that who are the people who are working in the same area in which you are working. So it will help you identify those people, and maybe through LinkedIn or other social media you can actually connect with them and have a word with them to how to use those techniques which they have already used, and you can actually find a good help in that format. This I have just taken an example, right? If somebody is wanting to do a research on adoption of green management practices and its impact on performance of business, right? So first, literature review will help this person to identify all the drivers, right? These are all the drivers or the constructs which which are which will in which you can find out, in which you can inculcate the green management practices. And this, on the right hand side, you can find out the financial performance of the company, and that performance you can divide into financial and marketing. So in this way you can actually develop a particular framework, right, for your research. You can have a crystal clarity of your framework, which will really help you while you prepare your research model, right? When you will do structure equation modeling or some kind of modeling techniques you will use, this particular basic model will actually help you to will guide you further. And taking that example further, say for example, if your topic is that green management business practices and its impact on financial performance, its impact on the company's performance, then these are certain topics which you should search for. This is just an example, right? Now in this example you can see that although the topic is only green management business practices, right, you should also search for literature on green consumerism, because do consumers really need that, right? So and you should also search literature on strategic drivers, which are the other drivers that drive the performance of the company. So not only you should limit your research to your title, but you should also search related areas. And there is always a question mark which you yourself have to identify, that what is lagging in your research. These are the various materials where you can find your research, right? Primary, secondary, and tertiary. This indexes, abstract catalogs can also help you many a times to find out literature review, because I personally refer to this tertiary sources a lot, many a times, and I check out the bibliography or the references of some good papers, and then I find out those papers which they have referenced, right? So it can be really helpful, right? And then obviously the reports, there are theses available on Shodhganga, right? There are numerous other portals where you can find out. Go to IIMA. You just have to have the membership of IIM library. If you are a student of a PhD, and if you are not having a membership of any good library like IIM library, IIM Ahmedabad library, you are just missing out on a whole lot of chunk for your research, right? So you just need to have that, right? In short, literature should justify. What I'm trying to say is that it should justify the argument. It should provide an argument to explain and justify the short list of theories, concepts, framework, or techniques that you have chosen for use in your project, right? It should be able to explain and justify all these four things, right? That's the only purpose. And this statement I have taken from one of the PPTs of MICA professor, Dr. Rohit sir, right? I like this quotation. He said, he also referenced it from somewhere else, but it is a lovely quotation. A good literature review can be compared to holding a good dinner party conversation, right? They both require individuals who can engage, learn, debate, argue, contribute, and evolve their own ideas without being hypercritical or psychopathic, right? So that's the crux of literature review. You cannot be hypercritical or a psychopath, right? While doing the literature review, you have to be neutral and observe things neutrally, right? So that will really help you build the further research. I hope, sir, I am audible and visible also.
Yes, you are audible and visible. Yes.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Moving forward, I hope, sir, I have some amount of time, at least 12 minutes more.
Yes, it is up to you.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So, second tip I would like to share is on building a questionnaire. Right. I have named it सबसे बड़ा सवाल कि questionnaire कैसे बनाए. Right. So that is, some basic checks of questionnaire. If the data is meant, I would like to share my own references, my own personal experiences. I collected the data from rural consumers of Gujarat. So collecting a data from rural people, and that also consumers. So ultimately rural citizens of Gujarat, it is way too difficult. I mean, not only Gujarat, collecting data from any rural background people, right? Or people who are not, on the main line or streamline of the economy, or, otherwise, it is very difficult to collect the data from them because they have numerous number of biases. And when you will actually go out and collect those data, right, if you are doing a research in marketing or any other type of research where such type of data collection is required, then you will yourself come to know. So what, I'm just sharing you my personal experience. There was a particular question which was, wherein I was trying to identify the financial risk awareness, averseness, or readiness of a rural person. So along with number of other questions, right? Actually, first I translated the questionnaire into Gujarati, right? And in that also, I actually use certain number of idioms and phrases which are very popular in Gujarati to, in Gujarati lingo, to, just to identify or just to orient that particular construct. So this particular line, શું તમે માનો છો કે શેર બજારમાં રૂપિયા રોકવા તે લાખના 10,000 કરવા બરાબર છે? Right. So that was one of the lines which I used. Right. Now this particular line obviously was not there. My entire instrument or data collection instrument was based on WELS and AIO. Now WELS and AIO are already established, registered frameworks for data collection. So, but this is my personal opinion that whenever you are collecting your particular, your instrument might be, your best of the best in the world, but still you should, if you are collecting the data on a particular region or from a particular sample, you should you should add your own flavor to it, right? That's why I have written, it is like making a dal, right? It does not taste same in every home. Similarly, right, if you are if even though you are adopting a particular instrument which is already been adopted universally, still you can take the liberty of making some necessary or relevant changes in that particular, if you find it correct. Not only, but there should be a content validity, right? Just validate it from the in any format, right? There are numerous statistical methods also, not only statistical but qualitative methods to validate the content that you are putting in the questionnaire. And I personally met Raju sir's mentor, Hemant sir, and also many other faculties, right, to validate my questionnaire, the content of my questionnaire. I showed them the questionnaire, and tried to discuss a lot of number of things with them, and then I finally finalized the questions. Even after finalizing the questions, statistically, when it, in the final stages, after the pilot study, in the final stages, I had to, remove some 5-6 questions because they were statistically not relevant. So that also you should keep in your mind, right? So all these things were, later come to your knowledge when you will proceed with the research. But when you translate the questionnaire into any particular regional language, please double and triple check with the literature experts. You should not lose the essence, right? There should not be error of lost in translation. That cannot happen, right? And avoid asking too many questions. I attended one of the sessions of one prominent researchers in India, and he said that in his life he has never asked he has never made a questionnaire which is beyond 25 questions, right? So, and right, which is usually lacking in most of the researches that that actually take place. Even my research, right, I almost asked 57 questions, but in attitude, interest, and opinion, you have no choice, that you have to ask a number of questions, because in that, only that way you would be able to identify different attitudes. So if you can, right, reduce the size of your questionnaire. I mean, unnecessary questions. Now, what is unnecessary question? That, that is a matter of, again, a question mark. Overcoming. See, while forming a questionnaire, you have to overcome three things, right? From respondents and from researchers end. There can be three errors which can be happening. I mean, those three errors are segmented into two branches. They come from two main branches. One is from respondents end, and another one is from researchers end. So from respondents end, the errors can be his unwillingness to answer and inability to answer, right? But why he can be why he will become unable, or why he or she becomes unwilling to answer, that is your, because of your question, right? So that check you have to do in your question. We will see, I will give you some examples. And from researchers end, if there is a error in framing of words, right, how such errors can be there, right? I will give you some real examples which I have also referenced from various sources. But this is my this titles and all stuff that I have given it all my own creative edge. So I have given it a Bollywood edge. So the first I will discuss inability to answer first, right? First example is, don't ask a Bahubali question. Bahubali question is like, there are so many things so many things stuffed in one question, right? So never ask a Bahubali question. The incorrect. See, I also given an example. Are you satisfied with the price and quality of MITV? Now, this question, if you ask in your questionnaire, it is a double-barreled question, right? It includes two things, price and quality. You should actually convert this question into two. So, like, are you satisfied with the price of MITV? And second question should be, are you satisfied with the quality of MITV? So that should be these two questions rather than price and quality. And this, my dear friends, all these questions are from real researches. So I have not made this up, right? They are somewhere taken from the real researches, right? So people do make such kind of mistakes. Second is, inability mein second hai, do keep an option of abba dabba chabba, right? So abba dabba chabba is, I don't know. When you don't know something, you say abba dabba chabba, right? So do give your respondent an option of don't know, right? In situations where all respondents are not likely to be informed about the topic of interest, right? So now most of the researches are, many of the researches are done via this Google links and all this stuff, even SurveyMonkey or various other online sources. So there you can put in this simple option wherein the respondents can, simply click on the button, don't know, if they want. Actually, if you don't want to collect the data from the respondents that actually don't know the answer, right? Why do you want to collect the data who are actually not interested or don't have the knowledge of the same? That would be leading to another statistical errors, right? So just place a button of don't know, right? Do keep an option of abba dabba chabba. Third is, do remember you are mostly dealing with Gajinis. Most of our respondents are Gajinis, right? And you just have to remember this, right? You cannot be a Gajini with that reference. So you cannot ask a question like, how many liters of soft drink did you consume during the last 4 weeks? Nobody remembers, right? Nobody remembers how many liters he drank in the last 4 weeks or last month or last year, right? If you are asking a question, it should be frame it well. How often do you consume soft drinks? And then give them the option less than once a week, 1, 2, 3 times per week, like that, right? So otherwise your question will just be leading to other other errors of your research. Then fourth is, be the Ram of Tare Zameen Par. Ram is the Amir Khan, right? So Amir Khan, like in that particular song, he makes his students imagine things, right? So similarly, you have to make your respondents imagine, or you have to make them articulate things well if they are not able to understand, right? So if you are asking them to describe atmosphere in the departmental store, then you yourself have to give some aids, or in the forms of pictures or maps and descriptions or all those kind of things. And all these things are now very much possible with online researches, right? So be the Ram of Tare Zameen Par. Just articulate things well from them so that they easily understand. Then unwillingness to answer, right? उसमें first point है, first example है कि कब unwilling होगा, when you're when you are asking too much efforts from your respondents, right? So if you remember that chiller wala scene from Amdaz Apna Apna, right? where the Amir Khan and Salman Khan, when they are asked for the ransom money, right, they actually go with the chiller, right, and that is too much effort from they are asking too much effort from the person who has kidnapped the other people, right. So you should not be like that. You cannot be asking too much efforts from your respondents, right. You cannot simply expect that. So like if you ask this particular question, if you want to know that in a departmental store, right, what are the various merchandises that people choose or purchase, then you cannot simply ask this question. You just have to give them options, right. Women's dresses, men's apparel, like that. You have to give them options, right. Only then they will be comfortable. Next is overcoming unwillingness. Again, usme second example hai, don't be a Bofors Madhavan from Scam 92, right. You cannot be insensible, right. Whenever there are sensitive questions, you hide those questions in between the good questions or non-sensitive questions, or you can ask them later on, right. Or that way entire list of questions can be asked quickly. Or use the third person technique, like LIC marketing people do, कि इंश्योरेंस, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस देते जहाँ जाते हैं, तो वो बोलते, हम डायरेक्ट हमारे रेफरेंस में नहीं बोलते, कोई XYZ के रेफरेंस में बोलते हैं. यू कैन डू दैट, यूज दैट टेक्निक. Or you can just response categories, provide response categories rather than asking specific figures from them. Or just simply, if you can do nothing, just ask those questions with a smile. But if you are doing that online, that is not possible, right. Or you can develop your own method of asking sensitive questions, but you cannot be Bofors Madhavan. Do not ask sensitive questions brutally or directly. There has to be a way for that, right. Again, overcoming the error of framing words. Now this is from the side of from our side, while we are framing the question. You cannot be Shyam from Hera Fairy, right. मतलब तो you cannot be not knowing your समस्या. तुम्हारी समस्या क्या है, नाम, नौकरी की, घर. You cannot be not knowing that. You have to know the what, why, when, where, way, right, all these things of your research. If you are asking a simple question like which brand of shampoo do you use, that's I think a wrong question. You should be crystal clear. Which brand or brands of shampoo have you personally used at home during the last month? Because there can be numerous people in the home, and there can be numerous number of different shampoos that people might be using for different persons, right, in a same home. So you have to be very specific if you want to collect a precise data, right. Then second is, you have to be clear, like a Sprite ad, right. Clear hai, clear wordings, right. If you ask something, if you want to know that आपका जो रिस्पोंडेंट है उसको सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक रेडीली अवेलेबल है, होती है या नहीं, राइट, वो मार्केट में जाता है तो उसको मिल जाती है या नहीं. एंड इफ यू आस्क हिम अ क्वेश्चन लाइक, डू यू थिंक द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक इज एडिक्वेट, नाउ ही इज नॉट गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. अब ये डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन क्या जस्टिफाई कर रहा है, फिजिकल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन साइकिल क्या है ये, right. So don't ask such vague words. Do not use such vague words in your question. You should use simply, do you think soft drinks are readily available when you want to buy them, right. Then third one is, don't be like Sacred Games 2, be like season 1. You cannot be unambiguous. I mean, you cannot be ambiguous, right. You have to be unambiguous, right. तो मतलब इसका एग्जांपल क्या है कि if you are asking a person in a typical month, how many times do you visit fast food restaurant? Never, occasionally, sometimes. Now occasionally का मीनिंग क्या है? How many times आपने पूछ लिया और फिर occasionally पूछ रहे हो. अब occasionally आपके लिए अलग होगा, किसी और के लिए अलग होगा. Sometimes किसी और के लिए अलग होगा. It depends on person to person, right. So rather, this is an incorrect way of asking. If you are asking number of times, then you should be asking in number of times while you are framing the while you are giving the options. So I have already put the correct one, less than once, 1 or 2. You can put it like that. Fourth is, do not play trump card. I mean, not card, I just meant trump, right. But just to be away from any kind of any kind of name shaming, I'm just using that. I'm just meant card. Don't play trump, right. What is playing trump? You are don't ask bias questions, right, or don't ask bias information. There was this survey done by some state government, and they wanted to ask from the people that, do you think all the state government should ban the sale of alcoholic drink, right. Now that answer can be yes, no, or don't know. if you ask that, it would be yes, no, don't know. But if you ask your respondent, do you think that just like Gujarat government, all the state government should ban the sale of alcoholic drink in the state, as this will result into higher safety, physical fitness, and mental wellness? This answer, I trust me, everyone will answer yes, that this ban is necessary. Right? That is a biased question. You are just leading your respondents to one particular area. You are left no choice. Right? I'm sure that nobody will say no after listening to all this. So that is incorrect way. Right? Also, although this way was actually used whenever if the government wants to say stay put with their decision of ban of alcohol in Gujarat, they would always ask such question. Right? And the answer would always be yes, the ban is always valid from the public's viewpoint. Second last is be a Ram Jethmalani or Harish Salve. Right? Avoid implicit words. Implicit words, by implicit I mean that some words that are not explicitly expressed, please avoid those things. Right? Like if you are asking your respondent, do you like to fly when traveling short distances? Right? Now that question needs some kind of addition. Right? That if a person, say for example, doesn't like flying, right, for short distances, what exactly do you expect from him? So you have to give the option. Right? Whatever, like if you do you like to fly traveling short distances, or would you rather drive, or would you rather travel by train, or whatever? Right? But you just have to give this option. Right? Just do not keep your question incomplete. And last, I think, is don't be a compounder, be a doctor. Right? Because as such you are going to be one very soon. Right? So avoid generalizations and estimates like a compounder does. Right? If you are asking what is the annual per capita expenditure on groceries in your household, right, that would be a wrong framework of the question. Right? That is too generic. Right? Rather you should ask two questions. Right? This is just an example, right, that I am giving to you guys. What is the monthly expenditure on groceries? That is one question. And second question you can ask is, how many members are there in your household? So then you can calculate the per capita expenditure. Don't ask your respondents. This is also matching with that thing that you are don't andaz apna apna thing. Don't ask too much efforts um from your respondents. And last but not the least, friends, I would just like to end my session. This I just made up while driving the car today. That always remember, PhD is a cakewalk, right? But just that you have to make your own cake with your own recipe and then simply walk over it, right? So I think that's all from my side. Right? I hope I have served justice to your expectation. This is all I could do in a time span of 2 days. So I hope I have served enough justice to your expectations. I think I have taken exceeded the time limit, but then really sorry, friends.
No, it's okay. You have taken the appropriate time.
Okay.
And definitely it was an excellent efforts, no doubt about that. And I'm happy that most of the students who are in this stage are here, right? And that's why I think almost are here. So they definitely got benefit of that. I also personally faced problem as a guide for last few students, in case of last couple of students, and that's why this idea also came in my mind, and we started this mentoring. The
True,
one
sir.
problem which I faced with the students, particularly in a pre-PhD Viva and the final Viva, they are very poor in presentation, and that's
Correct.
why sometimes when we did a good analysis and good construct, then also they are not able to present, and
Correct.
even they are not able to answer the questions. So that
Correct.
was a major problem, and that we cannot tolerate, right? So see, now when the other students see your presentation, then definitely they should also work very hard in the presentation part, because
Yes, sir.
you have a knowledge, you have worked very hard, you prepared your thesis, everything is fine, but if you are not able to present it right with a right word and right conceptual clarity, then I think it created trouble. So you did your job in a fantastic way, no doubt about that. And as this particular conversation is not only useful in doing a research or presenting the research, but in a general way also, like when we are talking student engagement and training and presentation and communication and everything, then also it provide a good example. So
Thank you, sir.
definitely it will be useful, not only those who are doing PhD, but once they complete the PhD, then also it is a never-ending journey, right?
True,
And
sir.
every time you feel that अगर काश मैंने क्वेश्चनर बना दिया होता, जैसे दिशा का क्वेश्चनर बन गया, तो अब उसको लग रहा होगा कि अरे मैंने ये पहले मुझे पता होता तो मैं इसमें ये करती। तो वो तो चलता रहता है। मुझे भी अभी एक लग रहा है कि मैंने ईजन का सेशन पहले अटेंड किया होता तो मेरे पीएचडी का क्वेश्चन भी थोड़ा सुधर जाता।
अरे सर
So, yeah,
नहीं.
so it is a general feeling. Those who are a good learner, they always feel like that, right? And there
Yes,
is
sir.
nothing wrong in that. So,
True, sir.
and that is the
And
advantage of such thing, right? So, thank you on behalf of, not from my behalf, but on behalf of all the new students. Suman is there, Disha, Paresh, Viral is there, right? So, thank you on behalf of all of them. And
Arre,
now we can move to Rennie.
thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ijan sir. Actually, Ijan sir has given a very good overview of what entails research. He has given a very good idea about how research is done, right? So there is actually nothing much for me to tell you, but still I have gathered some thoughts on how I go about with my research. So what is the process actually I follow whenever I am conducting a research? So this is my screen. Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, thank you, Bree. Thank you so much. Fine. So I would just like to give an idea about my research whenever I conduct a research. So, like Ijan sir has said, literature review is very, very crucial for. Review is actually how I do the research. It is not how exactly it is being done. So I start with the historical literature review type. I try to collect the research papers related to my the particular phenomenon that I'm trying to research on. I first and foremost try to find out which was the first paper that came, which was the most seminal papers which were regarding to that paper. So if my research is on online shopping, I will try to find the first paper which was developed, which talked about this online shopping. Right. So from that particular paper, I tried to find out how that particular field emerged. What were the who were the people who cited that paper? What was the how did they find out the research gap? As in, they tried to use that same theory in a different geographical location. They tried to find different variables which they added to it. Right. So this is how a certain phenomenon it emerges gradually. Right. So I tried to find out what were the seminal papers which and I tried to find out which paper cited them. Then through this historical literature review, I generally the objective of this type of this review that I do is to find first and foremost the seminal papers in the field, who are the first people to come, who criticized it, what is the general consensus about of the researchers regarding that particular phenomenon. Right. So it allows me to understand how the phenomenon has emerged. What is the state of art development currently? So through following this particular phenomenon, ultimately I come to the current state. What is the methodology used? What are the variables that they found that it was useless? What are the variables or not? Right. So through this, I try to find state of art development. For example, initially they used, a chi-square test, as in to find out the differences between groups. Then they started using factor analysis, and currently they have started using fuzzy logic, etc. Right. So through this, I get the understanding of how that variables, how the methodology have emerged. Then it also allows me to find out various directions for future research. So the researchers themselves in their paper describe what are the likely directions. also I get a usual idea of how where this particular research will go, right? So I can base my research paper on that particular direction. So in that way, my research will be very current. It will be state of the art, and the chances of it being accepted is very high, right? So this type of a literature review I do in order to find out the research gap, basically. So can I introduce a new methodology? Were there a limitation? Can I do the research in India? Certain demographics, can I do it on them? And there will be certain criticism regarding those initial papers. So I can base my paper based on the criticism. Right. So first and foremost, whenever I start a research, I do a historical literature review. Then the second step that I use is I collect various systematic review papers and meta-analysis papers related to the particular field. So actually, if there is no systematic review, then this is a very good scope for you. You can do a systematic review of the literature, or you can do a meta-analysis in case if it is an experimental research, right? So through systematic review, I'll get a very clear idea about what is currently going on, and most importantly, I can decide on the variables that I will be using in the research. So this is the second thing. I'll just go to Google Scholar and search systematic review online shopping. So I'll get all the research papers. I can also do a systematic meta-analysis of meta-analysis papers. Right. So that is also allowed. If there is let us say there was a systematic review that was done decades ago, I can do it to make it more contextual to the current scenario, right? So I can, first and foremost, I can get the research gap. Second, and most importantly, I do this to understand what are the important variables. So I'll get the variables for my study. This is where my entire research will be based on, right? Then the third step that I follow is I do a theoretical review. So if most of the good papers, if you would look into them, unless those are papers related to skill development or theory development, they are based on a theoretical framework or a conceptual framework. So a theoretical underpinning to a research is very crucial. I am actually trying to introduce something new to the theory. That is basically what happens in the case of most of the research. Okay, so I basically in this particular stage, I try to find out what was the theory used, what were the criticism to those theories. Actually, in this particular stage, I also try to find out theoretical reviews, theories from different areas also. So it is a very good practice to use theory from, let us say, psychology in marketing or information sciences marketing. So this allows you to create a new research. It is a very good gap to be considered, right? So theoretical review I do in order to define exactly what will be my theoretical framework for my paper. Then in the second stage, I try to find out the methodologies that were used on this. I try to find out what were the research approach that was used on these papers, how did they collect data, what type of a study they did, right? What was the analysis techniques that they've used? So in certain cases, analysis is also very important. Just because I wanted to find out the relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable, and for that purpose, I used regression analysis, is not a good reasoning for using regression. All right, so you have to justify why you use regression, not only because it is used, but also because it is the practice, right? So in certain kinds of research, they may be using regression. For example, in case of financial secondary data analysis, they tend to use regression. If it is psychology, they tend to use factor analysis, confirmatory factor analysis, etc. Right? So I try to find out how did they collect data. Most of the time, it is best to use this probability sampling, but if they use convenience sampling, what was the justification those paper gave for using convenience sampling? Right. So as you know, convenience sampling is frowned upon by research fraternity. They say that it is not generalizable, but still, it is not always possible, right? So in order to understand, in order to actually justify why you have used convenience sampling, it is best to say that, okay, this is how these papers have also used. In my case also, I was not able to use it because of the limitation in time or whatever. Right. So I do a methodological review. I try to find out which type of research is good for me. If there is very less research, if I have to develop something, I have to use qualitative research. If in case there is a good amount of research there, so I will be using quantitative research. Should I use experiment, survey, or secondary data, or whatever, right? So for every field, there is a specific type of research methodology that they prefer, and you do not just select it based on your choice. It is there. You can also cite that particular information, right? So through these four steps, I will be able to understand my field. I will be able to formulate my research questions and the scope of the study, right? So I'll formulate my questions, research questions. What will be the RQs that my particular study will be answering, and then I will not be able to answer generalize that particular research, right? So I will define the scope of my study, as in, for example, I will not be able to generalize my particular research for the whole state of Gujarat. So I have selected only the students who are pursuing their higher education. And I have found out that the students who are pursuing higher education tend to be similar in certain contexts. And since the in that case, since there is a homogeneity in my sample, so I have just studied the students who are pursuing higher education to higher education. Then I have selected Gujarat. I have limited it to Gujarat because the culture of Gujarat is different from, let us say, any other state like Maharashtra, etc. Right. So through the literature review, I will be able to formulate what are the research questions that I want, that my study wants to answer, what will be the scope of the study, where will it limit it, right? Then, like I said, I will be able to identify my variables. I will be able to define my variables. That exactly these are the things that I want to measure. And if there is something in my mind, I want to add another variable, right? So first and foremost, I'll find out the variables that are pertinent to my research. I will try to identify which of them is independent variable, which of them is dependent variable. Through this, I can, I can use various methods, right? Then, if there are certain latent variables, are there any variables which are moderating something or mediating, right? So accordingly, I will be using the research methodology for my research paper. So I have defined my variables. I have defined the relationship between my variables. I have understood that what is exactly that I'm trying to measure, right? So if there is an effect of independent variable on dependent variable, are there more variables? If there are latent variables, then I'll have to use either EFA or CFA, right? And finally, I will be able to define my hypothesis, exactly what my research paper is trying to answer, if in case it is a descriptive research paper. Right. So so I have come to know what will be my hypothesis. Then after defining the variables, I would the next question is, how am I going to measure my variables, right? So for measuring my variables, there will be various items that I have to use in my paper. Like sir had said, you have to develop a questionnaire. So what will be the items that I will be using? For example, if I want to measure attitude, how will I measure attitude? There will be various statements. Now, these statements will also come from literature, right? So there are very well established scales. I will be using the literature review to find out the scales that will be measuring the attitude. In this particular context, I will also try to find out whether if it is applicable in my context also or not, right? So attitude may or may not be applicable. The items that are used may or may not be applicable in that place. Maybe somebody had criticized that scale because it is not generalizable in the entire world. In certain countries, let us say in developed countries, it is different. In underdeveloped countries, it is different. So you may have to change your scales, your items accordingly, right? So if a particular scale was developed in a developing country, I'll try to find out whether if it is there is any criticism of it being applied in case of India, let us say. And if there are, then there would be some papers who have talked about how to use about how they have adapted it to India. If there is no paper, then I can also do that research paper, right? I can develop a skill. So I will get that gap also. Right. So after I I identify the scales for measuring my items, I will develop my questionnaire. Like sir has already told you how, what are the various tips to develop a questionnaire. Basically, I will use all the items that will be measuring my variable. Then I will use also certain demographic variables in order to find out if there is any difference between male and female, for example, right? Or if I am looking into a psychographic type of segmentation, then I can also go for it, right? So I have till now defined my research question, my variables, hypothesis. Then I have measured my variables. I have identified the items to measure my skills, and then I have developed a questionnaire. Now, one important thing that I would like to share with you is that in many of my case, in my case, not in my case, but in many of the examples that I've seen, a lot of time they had developed the questions, they had collected the data, and they did not get the appropriate result, right? So especially in the case of confirmatory factor analysis and EFA, right? So they were not able to get what the desired results. So it is always good to pre-test your questionnaire using a small sample. I will suggest something around 70, 80 sample, in order to understand whether they are able to understand those words properly, if the particular items that you have used are actually words that you have used in the questionnaire are actually measuring what it is intended to measure. Right. And like sir has said, there are various qualitative and quantitative methods to do that. So always remember, always pre-test your questionnaire. Otherwise, there is a good chance that you have collected the data, but you are unable to do a CFA or EFA. Right. So this is a very important step. Pre-test your questionnaire. Like I said, you will be able to identify the analysis that you would be using in your research. So maybe let us say you will be using regression analysis. Maybe you will be using EFA or confirmatory factor analysis. So one point of suggestion here is that maybe you do not understand these statistical techniques. You can always take the help of somebody else. You can collaborate with somebody else or whatever, right? You should, however, know certain things about these research methodologies. Most important is that the assumptions of this particular analysis type. So certain analysis type require data to be normal, certain require it to be in this ratio scale, right? So you should know what are the assumptions of this analysis. If I want to use regression analysis, I need to know what are the assumptions, and I have to accordingly try to get whatever is required, right? Also, it is important because certain type of analysis require a bigger amount of sample size. So whenever you are deciding your sample size, you will definitely be using the formula, right? Another way to define your sample size is to look in the literature also. What is the sample size that other papers have used? Right. So you will be using that. Also, you have to just you have to select the sample size based on the requirement of the analysis. So, for example, in EFA, you require at least 10 samples for each item, right? So if you have, let us say, 20 items, then you should have at least 200 respondents for that analysis. So you should know the various assumptions. Also, some techniques assume that that a particular conceptual framework has been used. For example, EFA and especially confirmatory factor analysis, they assume that there is a conceptual framework that has been used. So if you have just started your paper without any conceptual framework, then in that case, it will be wrong to use these type of techniques, right? So you should know what are the assumptions of those analysis types, at least where it is applicable. There are parametric tests, non-parametric tests. What will happen if the assumptions are not met, right? So if in case I want to use discriminant analysis and my data is not normally distributed, so in that case, I can use logistic regression, right? So there are always ways to find out, to do analysis in certain, if certain assumptions are not met. However, in certain analysis types, it is required. You cannot use EFA if your data is not normally distributed. Right. So you need to understand various assumptions, at least related to the analysis that you are going to use in your this research. So some extra tips that I would like to share with you is that learn APA style, not only the referencing, but also in citation, how to frame the sentences, how to create the tables, how to report the analysis, everything has been mentioned in the APA book, right? So currently APA 7 is going. You can also use APA 6. Most of the research journals, they allow APA 6 also. So side by side with your research, try to learn APA, try to improve your academic language. Academic language is different from the general language, right? You do not use superlatives in academic language. You try to be as simple as possible. So you do not use very heavy words in the case of academic language. You use simple languages. You don't use superlatives. You try to be as precise as possible. Then I would suggest you at least use ABDC listed journals for your literature review. Right, so these journals, the papers that are published in these journals have been thoroughly scrutinized. There's a very less chance that the methodology or whatever is flawed, right? So make it a habit to use only ABDC listed journals. If you're using Max by Max, you can go for Scopus listed journals. Please don't refer to any local journals which paid publications, etc., because it will hamper your research understanding only. Okay. Then you can search for various theses from foreign universities. You can learn a lot from those theses from foreign universities. You can use Shod Ganga for further analysis also, but it will allow you just use Shod Ganga based thesis for pattern and acceptable level of research work, and don't actually avoid most of the papers. You should be able to understand the level by now. Okay. And then one important thing is that for everything, like sir had said, for everything, why did you use regression analysis? Why did you use convenience sampling? Why did you use Gujarat out of any other state in the country, right? For everything, you have to back up it with literature. Okay, you cannot just say that I used Gujarat because I had limitation of time. You have to say that I am studying Gujarat because in the literature, in the former papers that I've read, they found out that there is a considerable difference based on the state, etc., culture. And since Gujarat is having a different culture, and that is why I have studied this, right? So that is one tip. Like sir had suggested you to download these physical papers, right? It is a very, very good tip. Also, I would like you to, if you are comfortable with it, use a reference management software. So Zotero is there, Mendeley is there, EndNote is there. So it is a good practice to use a reference management software. If you do not use, no problem at all. Okay, then an important thing is that find a research paper which is most closest to your research. So initially, a little bit of hand holding will be required. So try to find out a paper which is most closest to your research and try to emulate it, try to criticize it, try to change on it rather than starting everything on your own, right? So this actually I should have told you it at the beginning, but fine. You should find out a research paper which is most closest to your research. Now, just 4-5 tips for publishing your papers. Now, since Scopus, at least Scopus publication is mandatory, right? And most of the faculty positions, they require ABDC journals. So I just wanted to share some experience I had with publishing in ABDC journals. So first and foremost, these journals take a lot of time for publication, so you have to be very, very careful with. Just read this number one. You have to find out the suitable journal. You have to find out the objective of the journal and try to find out whether it matches with the objective of your paper. Read some papers. One good practice is to send an abstract to the editor before you send the entire paper, right? It is a good practice to actually send abstract to various journals. So if any editor feels that it is suitable for his journal, they will say yes, and then after that submit to him. A lot of time. Also, it is a good practice to cite what happened actually. Okay, to cite papers from that particular journal. All right, proofreading English, the quality of English is very, very essential to do a good proofreading of your research paper. You should cite from official sources only. Just copy pasting from a website is a big no, it will be rejected. theoretical basis is a must in this ABDC journals. If you don't have a theoretical background, this framework, then it will be rejected. What will be the practical implications? What are the rationale of the paper is also very, very important. Also, like sir has suggested, collaboration is a very good way to publish in these kind of journals. It will be difficult to directly this aim for ABDC journals. If at starting, it is better if you know, if you can collaborate with somebody who already has published, right? And finally, you should be very, very careful with your data collection. Collecting data from students, for example, is in India from this Indian papers collecting data from students is generally rejected, right? So you have to be very meticulous with your data collection. So these were all things that I wanted to share with you. Sir.
Very good, excellent, excellent. You know, when Sultan and this Dangal movie was been made, Sultan was released first, and then people were in tension that now what Amir Khan will do. But both the movies did well because at the end, when Sultan made 300 crore, Dangal did 500 crore without any glamorized thing, right? So when Ejan presented, then with the same topic, now what Renin can do, but then Renin also equally did well. So see, in a process of research, I hope if you did your PhD study, so that your PhD study will never be deserved to get a Nobel Prize or something like that, right? Or may not be highly appreciated, because like in India, you know, people used to say PhD is a beginning, is not an end. So at least if you got a clarity of a research through your PhD, that what is all about this process, then in fact the purpose is solved in our country. But then unfortunately nowadays it becomes very, very difficult to guide the students, and that is the reason most of the guide, you know, now don't want to guide the PhD students, because it will be repetition for research for himself or herself only, right? Like, students are not keen to uh, having a rigorous understanding, as well as ability, as well as willingness to prepare well, and you know, take all this initiative, and that's why it is very difficult to guide the students. So I don't know, we have to have a new technique to orient the students, educate the students, awake the students, whatever you say, right? But then it is highly required, because otherwise, you know, unless you yourself create that clarity in the mind, whatever these two people are saying, right, Ejan as well as Renin. So I am at least very happy that, you know, at the end of their PhD, they are at least clear that what is research is all about, right? If that understanding is developed, then also the purpose is solved, right? Otherwise, like, say for example, research is ultimately what you publish your paper in a good journal, and then people will learn that knowledge and then implement in their practical life. That's all, right? So ultimately you are bringing some change in the society by way of creating the knowledge, and then the other people will use that knowledge, and which is going to be implemented, right? So say for example, I did my PhD suppose on mentoring, right? How to be a mentor, and then what are the techniques of mentoring and all such. But then at the ultimately, what is the purpose? My paper will be published in some good journal, somebody will read, and somebody become a good mentor. Right? That is the ultimate purpose of that. So in the entire process, if one cannot be a good learner, then I think though your research is the best one or may not be a good one, then the purpose is not solved. But with these two presentation, you yourself could see that they thoroughly, you know, digest the entire process of research, because they also know that how much whatever they are talking they actually able to implement, because during that process there are number of constraints also, right? But then at least they are aware about that, right? Like many people residing in Mumbai may not have seen all the areas of Mumbai, right? But at least you have that aerial view of a city, right? At least you must have that holistic understanding of a map of your city. So that much is required. So Ranin very nicely talk the literature review in also in a classification like a methodological review, historical review, analytical review. All such things he talk very nicely, as well as Ejan also did a very good job. Now in a next level, what I wish that say Disha already collected it. She is in a process of collecting the data. Uh, that Trivedi, Keval Trivedi. Keval Trivedi, he collected the data from more than 1000 sample, but the data, I am not satisfied with the data because when I see the mean and everything, then most of the data is very skew in a one part only, and that's why like before doing a test also I can say there will be no significant difference. Whatever the demographic or categorical variable he apply, nothing is going to come as a result, right? So it becomes a formality only, right? And he and people are from outside the academic fraternity, I don't know, may not having that regress, and that's why many time I have a complaint also. But then what I am planning to do, that once like in case of Keval as well as Disha, data is collected, I think the file will be sent to everyone, junior as well as senior. So here there is nothing like junior and senior, right? But then if you know something in terms of that analysis and what kind of test need to be done, and any other suggestion to that particular candidate, we can do that. So what we will do now, I will ask Disha as well as the Keval to send their descriptive analysis at least, right? Descriptive analysis in a sense, the univariate analysis first of all, right? So then at your convenience, you can refer it, and then if you have any suggestion, you can give to them, and then we can have a their presentation also, that what exactly kind of data they collected, right? Like questionnaire as well as the descriptive analysis. So at a time, you have any suggestion, you can directly give, because these are all the things, people will never take a time. जैसे मुझे भी आप बताओगे कि मैं इन सबको लिटरेचर रिव्यू पढ़ाने बैठूं तो मुझे भी अच्छा नहीं लगता है, बिकॉज रिसर्च इज नेवर इज अ एंटरटेनिंग प्रोसेस, राइट? So that's why it will never give a pleasure, right? And that's why we have to make a point, like we have to find out a way to make it interesting as well as interactive. So at a next stage, I think this is my suggestion, like from your side also, if you have any other suggestion, are most welcome, right? So at next stage we will do that, right? Or if you have any other suggestion, you can also help, right? But yes, as today we clarify two things, literature review as well as how to make a questionnaire. Next time we can say how to identify the various statistical tests, as Ranin was rightly saying that there are assumptions of the different statistical tests, and if your data is not fulfilling those assumptions, then there is no point of carrying out those kind of tests, right? Because many times students never knows that where to apply F test or where to apply T test, and even once they know whether your data fulfill the assumptions or not, right? And the logic and the justification for applying a particular test. So that itself is a very important process, right? So at next stage we will do that. So those who are at a literature review stage, like Suman is finalizing her literature review, and then Paresh is there, Varun is there, and Viral is there. So they three are in the stage of a literature review, and then after literature review they will be preparing their questionnaire on the basis of literature review. So definitely this two session is highly useful to four of them, Disha and this one Keval already collected a data. Disha finished the questionnaire and in process of collecting the data. So for them, the identification of a taste will be useful, right? But this 4 will also reaching to that stage. So definitely it is useful. And for Disha as well as Keval as well as Pooja. Pooja is not there right now, but for 3 of them, none of them prepared and published a paper on the basis of literature review. So this session will be definitely useful to them also, because as Renin classified the different types of literature review, you can at least have a 2 or 3 papers based on literature review. And Suman, Viral, Paresh, right? If they are doing and collecting the literature and then analyzing the review, then at least along with that they should prepare a research paper also. Because after completing your 3.5 year or 3 year, many students are not able to prepare a single research paper also, and then they will be in trouble. So this is a time where at least you can prepare 1 or 2 paper based on a literature review, right? And that will help you to have a publication. So I personally believe this discussion is very useful, and can definitely have a power to give a U-turn to your research process. Only the thing you make a point, right? So thank you. If anybody, yeah, Bindya madam is there. Bindya is still there, or is she left? Yeah, I think she left. Anyway, but otherwise, last meeting she was not there, so her introduction was pending. Anyway, but next time when she will join, she can do that. But otherwise, it was a very excellent experience for me at least, and we will definitely continue this process for the noble cause of a research, not personally for somebody, but at next stage we will do that. Okay, Disha as well as Keval. ठीक है ना Disha?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if you have any question to ask, you can ask, but otherwise in a WhatsApp group also you can send the question, right? And meanwhile they will be able to answer. So thank you to everyone. Thank you again to Renin as well as Ejan especially, right? And all others to joining for this session. And whenever Disha and Keval is ready, after 1 month and so, we can have another session, right? Where we
Yes,
will
sir.
discuss identification of various parametric and non-parametric tests for a particular question, where we took these 2 questions as a case study, right? And then we can do a post-mortem and whatever you want to do, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.